Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So here's the deal, y'all. Shout out to BGS Ibmore for this one. He asked that I cover the topic of Andrew Tate after being a Muslim, and I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to start by stating what I don't know and what all Muslims know that we don't know, and that is what kind of Muslim Tate is going to be in the long run. We don't know, and Tate does not know because it's in the future, and this is something calling for speculation. But we just don't have it. We can theorize and we can speculate if we admit that it's a speculation, but we don't know. When it comes to making judgments of people in general, there are two extremes that we Muslims are required to avoid. We are forbidden from two extremes. One extreme is to not make judgments at all. Of course, today's liberal kids are all like, they're so judgy and I don't judge. No, shuck that fit. We judge. The opposite extreme, though, is hyperjudgment. We are to avoid speculation, and we are to stick to what we know when it comes to making judgments. And if speculation has to be, then we are to give the benefit of the doubt. This is that middle road we have to take when making judgments. So when I tell you that I look at Kevin Gates as a horrible ucked-up example of a Muslim, if he's even Muslim anymore, I'm saying this based on things that are open and obvious. If he's Muslim anymore, he's a terrible example of a Muslim. Don't follow him. That is an N19 if I ever saw one. Kyrie Irving actually nullified his Islam when he wore the Ankh. It wasn't when he posted a link and made a reference to Hebrew Israelites that nullified his faith, but to wear the symbol of another religion is actually, it tantamounts to misidentifying yourself. That cancels the religion. Now, if he didn't know that, then people just got to come and tell him. But if he knew that and he did it, he gave up his Islam. These things I'm telling you are based on rules that we've been given. It's not just black minds spitting an opinion. I don't make many judgments of Andrew Tate because he's too new of a Muslim, and he himself has said there are things I got to learn. So he does understand at least that much. That's good. He understands that much. He's not. You get the idea. Well, see, look, get this, y'all. I'm not going to be able to tell you what kind of Muslim Tate's going to be. I know that he's going to face a particular, he's got an obstacle to learning that's placed in front of him right now because there's so much that he's not going to be able to easily learn because he's busy having to fight a case. In order to tell you the significance of his arrest, though, let me tell you this. I want to paint the background because if you want to understand the significance of his arrest after him becoming a Muslim, understand the background, then you'll know. Let's say that there are people that are stuck somewhere. You can hear them screaming for a rescue. Let us out, let us out. You follow the voices, you go somewhere, and you see that they're behind a fence. And the fence has razor wire on the top of it, so they can't just climb over it. And so then you say, okay, well, hold on, I'll get help. And then, because you're going to get help, you turn around and you see somebody standing there with a uniform and a gun saying, what do you mean you're going to get help? Nobody lets them out of here. They're stuck. Doesn't take much for you to see this is a prison. That's why. If you follow voices screaming, help us, save us, and you go and you can see them burning, and you say, wait, let me go and throw some water on the situation. And when you come back with the water, some people that are not burning come up to you and snatch the water away from you and throw it in the opposite direction from the fire. Doesn't take much for you to figure out this is a type of hell. Something similar. That the point of the place is for the people to be screaming for the relief for which they're screaming, but to never get it. That's the point. My nephew, my play nephew, the one that picked me up from the airport here in Riyadh, the day he picked me up, sat on the couch with me, chatted with me, talked to me, and said, yo, uncle, I asked him whatever happened to his Facebook account, and he said, well, I had to get rid of that. And he told me what it was. He had a cyber stalker. And I was like, what you mean you had a cyber stalker? It was an ex-girlfriend. And I told him, man, I'm about to wear your ass out. I got ready to, matter of fact, I reached for my belt, because that don't fly in this country, and his dad is an imam. And he said to me that, he explained to me that in actuality, they never even met. It wasn't that. He said that wasn't even why. I don't know if she even looks like her photographs. That's not a big deal to me. What you think, I want to be a dad without a wife? That's not the case, Uncle Black. What's going on here is that I know that if you want to understand women, you have to go the haram way. Now, I had an answer for that. I told him, no, it's the job of the women in your family to tell you the truths about women you need to know. And if they don't do it, then they're deficient. And lying by omission is still lying when it comes to something like this. I told him, if your mother teaches your sisters anything about men, it is her job to come and tell you the things about women that she knows you need to know. And it dawned on me, when traditional women won't do these things, they actually lay the groundwork for Nasawiyah, meaning feminism, to spread in a society like this. It hit me like that as I was telling him, but that's a different topic. He said this because, you see, even though we are in Saudi, and that was not true a little while ago, he saw this coming before it came. And as a rideshare driver part-time to make extra money, he's learned certain things that are going on and what's coming into the kingdom, because we're in the capital. This is where things come in, good or bad. A lot of bad. He's had Kuwaiti men hit him up and try to get him to give them the Johnson. He's had a teacher come on to him before, a male teacher come on to him before. I understand some of what has driven him into a type of sadness. I get it. He's arranged to marry a lady, and he knows she has good parents because her parents are friends with his parents. I've met the lady's dad. But also, I know, because he knows that that girl, if you want to call her a girl, is on that Nasawiyah BS. He realizes that he can't avoid and duck and dodge Nasawiyah, so he's got to learn how to head it off. Now, I red-pilled him at this point, and I told him about the black manosphere. But at that time, what he said has been true for you and me in the West for years. When I lived there and before and up until now, where you're still living there, it's true, and you know it. If you want to know about women, you cannot walk the path of chastity until someone who knows about women walks the path of chastity, but then tells you what you need to know about the gender war and feminism and misandry. That's what Tate represented. He represented the end of the punishment for the chaste man, because he represented the opportunity for the chaste man with a religious belief to now know about women without having to walk the unchaste path first. You get to bypass all of that. You can learn straight from those who've already done it. He had the audience. He has the means and the money. He has the audience from the fame. So he's been through all of that, and he represented an end to this. This is, in fact, what he represents. Trust me, Mahdi Tijani in the UK represents an end to the same thing. He started NSN, No Strings Nikah, a way for career-minded women and post-war women to negotiate with men for marriage. He said it's not a good solution. It is just simply a bad solution to an even worse problem, which is that the Muslims in the UK are heavily fornicating. And it's not really the Muslim men that are heavily fornicating. It's a few men, Muslim and non, that are fornicating with most of the Muslims. And we don't know how many Muslims in the UK are fornicating or not. We don't know the percentages. We don't know the stats. In Canada, one study showed it was 60%. I don't know the sample size. I don't know the methodology of the study. I'm not sure. What I do know is that it was self-reported that 60% of the women in that survey were confessing to fornication. In Canada, I don't know what's like in the UK. I mean, I know it's real liberal, but I don't know how many of them are fornicating and how many of them are actually chaste. But they don't have to be chaste when they don't want to. It's not a requirement. They can get the draws. Muslim men, largely because they're ethnic and Muslim, can't get them draws. Now, I know how bad I know one thing about it. I know that many Muslim men in the UK can't marry virgin Muslimas, even if they don't know she's not a virgin, because some of these Muslimas have body counts of 5. There's an imam in the UK, in the Manchester area, married to a woman. She's got a body count of 5. His sister knows that woman and knows about the body count, but she didn't tell the imam. So the imam is married to a woman who has a body count of 5. He was a virgin when they got married, as far as anybody could tell. And some women are going to come in and say, yeah, as far as anybody can tell. How do you know? Well, you know what? He's a guy. That already decreases his chances of having a body count at all. And a practicing Muslim, he was going to be heavily scrutinized. So the chances of what I said are very high. Him being a virgin, her not being one. His sister knows and did not tell him. I didn't say her sister, his sister knows and didn't tell him. Mahdi Tijani is dealing with a very bad situation. Shout out to him, he's trying. But you know what? If he had the audience that Andrew Tate has and the money that Andrew Tate has, bruh, they would come and pick him up too. They absolutely would. If he gets famous enough and high profile enough, they're going to come pick him up. They are not playing. They are not effing around here. Tate represented a very fast track solution to exactly what it is that a lot of people don't want to see, because Muslims already have our own financial system. It's not implemented, but it does exist on paper. It's called for. We have our own political system, legal system. It's a comprehensive way of life. When I told you it is a solution, there are reasons, not a reason, but reasons that I said it. You're not going to take my word for it, especially those of you all that are so super black, so pro-black, that you think Islam ain't black enough. Some of y'all have come at me with that. Some people think that because of the way I've told y'all that I look, that's why I can become Muslim. Because deep down, I'm just a sellout to black people. Since I'm not a real black man and Islam is not a real black religion. But no, it's a solution for black folks. It's a solution for folks in general. Most obviously for those who've been oppressed. Less obviously, but still very obviously for those who don't oppress nor get oppressed, and that's very rare. And least obviously for those who commit oppression, because they have to stop the oppression. And that's not always so clear-cut a choice for people who benefit from oppressing others. Sorry about the sound. That's the board. I'm erasing something before the next class. That's what Tate represents. The end of, he represents an actual solution presented to many things, including to the problem of women that men have to face, not even just in the West, but even in traditional areas, because as I stated, my play nephew's mother did not tell him enough to where he felt comfortable dealing with women without learning something. She ain't prep him. She did not prep him. If she did, she didn't do it enough, or he didn't know that she prepped him enough. My mom tried to prep me. She did try. Vocabulary was the issue, but she tried. Tate comes along. He's not broke. He's not out of shape. He has an audience. He's not getting his butt kicked around everywhere. And people can't come along and say, yeah, I used to bully Tate back in the day. He was a punk back then. They can't even do that. All the things that sisters in the West love to use to discredit any man, nobody can use to discredit him. Then he accepts Islam. It was already bad enough that he understood women. He would, mark my words, he was not locked up the first time because he was mistreating women or oppressing them. He was locked up because he was a little bit too loose and unchaste with them before being a Muslim. That doesn't make him stand out, but he understood them a little bit too well as well. He knew what buttons to hit, so women with girlfriends were at his parties. Which is how the U.S. Embassy got a phone call, and they turned around and called the authorities, and this place got raided because they really thought somebody might have been there against her will. Turned out it just was one lady that, had a boyfriend, and she told the boyfriend she was, and he, thinking he was helping her, made the phone calls. Because the woman lied, because she didn't want her boyfriend to know that she had chosen to go to this party because he's Andrew Tate and his brother's Tristan. You see, he knew the buttons to press. He was a little bit too successful with them. That was what got him the first time. Now he's Muslim. At some point, that stuff is going to have to stop. There probably aren't many more parties being held at that house anymore. He was in the process of moving to Dubai anyway. Do you see where this is going? The message that they fear is chastity coupled with red pill awareness and knowledge, because the red pill is not a religion. It is an awareness of something that is right in front of you. It does not require faith to believe. It requires a blind faith to disbelieve. That's just the red pill. It's just an awareness of the games that they're playing on you. It's not your fault they're playing them. Don't blame yourself. There it is right in front of you. They're playing these games. Don't blame yourself. But it's there. And then there's the religion that does require you to have faith in things you don't see, but the evidence is strong based on the things that you actually do see. That's the religion. You put them two together, obviously there's something to that message. Now you understand why I don't show my name and my face. And I'm not going to. Now to Dennis Sperling, and I don't blame him or hate him for this. Well, I blame him, but I don't hate him for this. To Dennis Sperling, that might make me a coward. I would say to him or anybody, you may be brave, and I believe that you are, but become Muslim. Seriously, lock, stock, and barrel, top to bottom. You ain't playing with the religion. Even if you ain't good at it, at least become a serious Muslim. Then stick your chest out with your name and your face, with the money that you got and the audience that you got. And they're going to come after you too. You're going to be told to put your hands behind your back one day. They are not effing around with you. That is a place where they draw the line. And really, they want to get anybody that preaches the same thing, but they got to start with the high profile targets first, the bigger fish to fry. Tate was that big fish. You don't combine these two things and think they're not coming for you. If I got big enough, they come for me too now. Would I like the money? Sure. But this part of the message is not monetized. That's why I'll tell you in this particular recording, yes, hit up Dwight Hayes, send the Cash App to him so he can get it to the SYSBM tenant co-writer that's really going through it right now. Yeah, send it to him, sure. Send it to him. But for this message, my Cash App shouldn't be in the description. If it is, I forgot to remove it. Tell me, remind me. Because this part of my message is not monetized. This is on YouTube for free. This is on Odyssey for free. And if I upload it to Patreon as a courtesy to my first class flyers, it's still not something that only they're going to get. There are other messages that are uploaded only for them and only on Odyssey behind the paywall. That does exist. Yeah, I'd love the money. That's fine. But this ain't monetized because that's how important it is. This particular truth is not. The religious truth coupled with the red pill awareness. You could be red pill aware and they're going to already want to do certain things to you and stop you, but you mess around and couple that with the knowledge of Islam. So then you've got these two important answers to men. What's going to happen to me in the next life after I die, and how do I influence that? And what about these women right here, right now, today? especially since we have to be chaste. How do we get around this? Not be manipulated. Okay, now you combine these two, you have removed a lot of anxiety from the lives of men, and this is not profitable. And not to big business and government. See, there's another thing that Tate represents. That's a part of this, and I'll tell you this too. Women manipulate men, and a lot of times it is for financial gain. They have not stopped doing this once they became all strong and independent, don't need no man for nothing. They never gave that part up. Women are willing to pay for men, generally speaking, but on one condition, that they don't have to actually work for that damn money that they're using to pay for these men that they're buying. So they generally would like to get one man to pay for them to pay for another man. Now, Jesse Williams' wife didn't do that. His ex, I mean. She worked and paid, so to speak, if you interpret it that way. I have a hard time believing it was just that simple. But that's a one-off case. Vivica Fox had to work for her money. Even though she's an actress, it is a lot of work. It's strenuous. One more take, that's the biggest lie on the set. It's not one more take. They do a bunch of takes for every single scene. Vivica Fox had to work like actors and actresses have to do for that damn money. Guess what? Vivica Fox was married for a year and a half, and she left that man because she had to pull out the credit card and pay for stuff. Stuff she wanted anyway. Stuff she was willing to buy anyway. She just wasn't willing to share with no man. Women hate to be a financial boon and boost to men if they're working for their money. Now, take O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. Well, O.J. had to pay her alimony. She didn't have to work for that money. She turned around and paid that money to her younger boyfriend, Goldman, from the gym. She didn't mind doing that as long as she didn't have to actually work for that money. Tate was taken for a ride similar that way. I mean, he wasn't taken for alimony and stuff, but Tate was taken for a ride. He had a girlfriend. She went the money route at the expense of being faithful and honoring the relationship by their standards of what that means and all that good stuff. And he turned around and flipped that. He learned a harsh lesson and he weaponized it. So he began to seduce women to make money for him. Skills similar to a pimp's. Now, should we pimp? No. But the ability that pimps have to see which women they can get to do this, and it's really not that big a deal. They know which women to get to do this. They know which women they can get to do this. But the ability to seduce women into working to make you richer, to fatten your pockets, is somewhat of a skill. It's certainly more of a skill than what most men have. I'm not trying to play it up. It's just most of us don't have it. He represented not only the knowledge of Islam, but he represented the ability to weaponize the same manipulation against them they would weaponize against you and me. Should he have done it? No. But the fact is, he's not the guy you were going to be able to take for a ride. He saw through the BS, and he was able to say to these ladies, no, listen, if you want me to take care of you, and that is my job as a man, you submit, and you need to be my type. And by the way, I don't have to choose any of you. I'm too rare. And other men like me are too rare. Your looks are not that rare. My resources are. And he still had sympathy for men that didn't have as much resources. That man had a balanced perspective, more balanced than many people have. Then he became Muslim with this knowledge. So now a lot of these young Muslim men around the globe that are confused by women, want to get married one day, want to start a family, would like to go the chase route, but know they don't know enough to go that chase route without being punished by manipulative women, now have an answer. Now the answers, these answers lie with other men, but now they have a high profile answer that's easy to spot from a distance. If Tate was investigated as far back as 2014, and he probably was, that doesn't change the fact that after he became Muslim, certain things had to be accelerated to get him out of the public's view. Had to be. That's what the point was. That's what the purpose was. I don't think that Tate actually did these things for which they picked him up. If he did do anything wrong, it was probably a long time ago. But if they caught him for that, then he will do time for that anyway. But he's going to do time for what he did not do anyway, because they're going to have people that are going to testify and say what they want them to say, so that the judge can then say, okay, yeah, well, we got the evidence, you're guilty, and you're going to do this much time. And in a Romanian prison, they're going to get him. They would have done the same thing to me a long time ago if I'd been high profile. They would do it now if I became higher profile. I'll take the money, but the fame? Oh, God, no. Absolutely not. Don't want that, because then they'll come tell me put my hands behind my back. They've done it to other people. Sometimes the red pill was involved, sometimes it wasn't. But when you're Muslim anyway, red pill or not, they start looking for you if you're high profile and you're not broke and people are listening to you and you're Muslim. They come for you. There better be something wrong with your message in order for them to leave you alone. That's how that works. You can look at the rapper Loon. He's no longer the rapper Loon. He was born Chancellor Lamont Hawkins. He became Loon on stage. Then he left rapping, became Muslim, and became Amir Junaid Muhaddith. I met Amir Junaid Muhaddith. I never knew Loon. Didn't know who Loon was until after I'd known Amir Junaid Muhaddith for almost a year. He got locked up for a conversation, a one-sided conversation somebody else had with him from 6 or more years before he became a Muslim. Someone else was talking about doing something wrong, and he let the person talk, being nice and polite, and he got picked up for conspiracy. And they told him, we can get you on a lot more if you don't plead to this, because they have people willing to testify. That's why. So he had to go up the river for something like that. What was the reason? Well, after he became Muslim, he laid low for a while. He was living his life, and then people started to invite him to make a few appearances. And he went and made some appearances in the Middle East over here. And some of the youth that had followed him rapping now were looking at him as a Muslim, telling them to take their religion seriously. And that had an impact on some of the youth. You understand? So they picked him up. And he was just gone for years. They'll do that to you. They've done it to Muslims that I met online. I didn't know them in person, but they've gone and picked up Muslims I met online. The only one I know in person that got thrown into detention or prison, it was only two. One was picked up on immigration. He's dead now. And then there's Amir Junaid Muhaddith. The others I knew that were picked up or killed were those that I'd known online. But it's happened to them. They'll go after them. Even if the red pill is not involved, they'll go after them. Generally speaking, these are men who do believe that women have to control their materialism, just like men have to control our weakness for women. And women don't like that. Feminism does not like that. Do you see where this is going? That's what he represents as a Muslim with a red pill awareness. It's not just him either. He's just, like I said, he's just the one that was visible from a long way off because of his high profile from before he was Muslim. Had he had long enough to take this religion seriously, which he probably was going to do because it's generally what he does anyway. And that's speculation on my part, I admit. It's not a judgment, that's speculation. But if he had time to do this and take it seriously, that combination would have eased a lot of anxiety for men, especially Muslim men. It would have halted feminism in its tracks almost within the span of, within a few months, it would have halted feminism in its tracks in the Muslim world. Because as Nasawiyah spreads over here from where I am, you got some guys that know who Tate is. And they're bilingual. And they can take what he says in English and turn around and say it in not only Arabic, but in fluent Arabic slang. And they can tell these ladies, hold up, stop. What did you say? Tell your dad we're not getting married. Bye. They can do that. My play nephew, I told him, hey man, why don't you call that marriage off with her if you know that she's into that Nasawiyah stuff. And he told me because her parents are good and it would embarrass her parents if I called off the wedding before we ever got married. I'm supposed to at least try it out because, you know, it's my parents arranged it. And I'm okay with them arranging it. They just don't know about this Nasawiyah. I said, why don't you tell them about the Nasawiyah? They would want to know how I know. So he's in a quagmire. You see? But then again, his family, though he lives in Riyadh, his family's not from Riyadh. They're not from any big city. They're from the Bedouin areas. And that's what's going on. But you got cats in these bigger cities, and their parents may set things up a little bit, and their mom, the parents of the daughters will set things up, but they can still say, you know what, we ain't getting married. They can still do that, and they don't care about shame and embarrassment. And when these guys here find out about that Nasawiyah, they're in a position to say, no. See, it has to be secret, but it's spreading here. Tate's message gets out amongst these men even further after he's Muslim. That's when they'll be able to say with all full confidence, even to their parents, I don't marry feminists. She wants me to take care of her like you're taking care of mom, but she doesn't want to listen to me the way mom got to listen to you. I'm not doing that. Because, see, a lot of times the economy here is driven by the fact that men will keep trying to make ends meet, even when it's not rewarding for them. You got men turning to drugs to cope with the stress, and they're still working all these jobs to make ends meet. When these men realize that Nasawiyah will make that an unworthy effort, they'll stop. And they'll say, okay, I'm going to look after myself. And they're going to deal with a more severe economic downturn than the one with which they're already dealing. Tate represents that. I hope that this helps. And thank you, BGS, for having the confidence to ask me to give my take on it. I'd like to see Tate beat the charges unless he actually did something. And frankly, now that he's Muslim, I would like to see him beat charges, even if it was for something he did before he became Muslim. I'd like to see it, but I'm not optimistic. I think he's going to be convicted, and he's going to do time, and a lot of it. And I do think they're going to try to do him in while he's in captivity. I don't think the last hospital visit was their opportunity to do these things, but I do think that he'll do time. And when he's forgotten and there's another headline, he'll be taken out. And I don't want this to happen, but I'm pessimistic for a reason. Experience justifies my pessimism and ridicules my optimism. Gentlemen, what this means is that those of us that are Muslim and red pillar wear are going to have to be able to spread this with less of a profile. That's what that means. It means that each one of us are going to have to do our part instead of looking to one person to be this beacon that can draw a lot of attention. That's what this means. And thank you for being patient with me for this whole half hour plus some. But yeah, Mahdi Tijani is going to need support from us. He ain't going to be writing everything he says, and he knows that. As an example, Abul Bara Muhammad Amariki is going to need some support from us when he goes against feminism and misandry. The same with the features. Kendra Davis is already doing her part. She does not, Kendra Davis does not support fornication. And yet she still tells you what's going on. Do you understand? This is what we're dealing with. We're going to have to do our part. We're all going to have to kick in. Because Tate was picked up before he even really got a chance to put forward this new combination to which he had the two main necessary ingredients. Based Muslim is going to have more support from us. This is why I said to you that more important than the likes, please hit the share button. That's why I've said this all the time. That's why this particular message here is not monetized. And my Cash App won't be in the description if I remember, but Dwight Hayes' will. That's the reason for this. We put too much, or we were going to leave too much to someone like Tate. Maybe not only Tate, but we were going to leave too much to somebody like Tate. And that's the price. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you again for being patient with me on this long Jet Black Airways flight where jet black is also a verb, and I hope you keep jetting black with me until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.